When I graduated university, I considered working in foreign intelligence. However, it turned out that I wasn't intelligent enough to work in intelligence, so here I am on YouTube. And even though I didn't end up working in that field, every now and again when I end up watching spy films like Jason Bourne, I find myself wondering, how did he learn all those languages? Did the FBI teach it, or did he just learn them in the field? And why does Matt Damon look so goddamn good in leather? So rather than sitting around on the couch, we decided to do some investigations of our own and find out how FBI agents learn languages. However, in order to really understand how the agents learn languages, it's important to start with why the FBI language team even exists in the first place. And unfortunately, it's a bit of a sad story. In May 25th, 1978, the Unabomber case shook the USA and the world. And what made matters worse is that they couldn't find the guy who did it until the FBI linguistics team got involved. Because 2 decades later, the attacker started sending letters about the heinous crimes he committed, and while everyone else was focused on what he was saying, the FBI detectives focused on how he was saying it. And they started to find nuances and patterns in the writing, and from these letters, they managed to work out the author's age, where he came from, and eventually catch the bad guy, Ted Kaczynski. But unfortunately, shortly after, came the tragedy of 9/11. Which put the whole world on alert and massively increased the need for foreign languages that could support counterterrorism. So why is this important? Well, due to these events, the FBI's language budget tripled from $21.5 million in 2001 to $70 million just a few years later. And today, over 1,600 agents are employed in over 115 foreign offices worldwide. Because the team had grown so big, the FBI needed to give these guys a nickname, and because they're a team of cool, multilingual, spy-like figures, the FBI decided to go with Language Busters. There's something strange in your neighborhood. Who are you gonna call? Language Busters. Back to work? Well, now we know how and why the FBI language team was set up, let's take a look at how they take an average agent and turn them into a language legend. As you may know, the FBI is fairly secretive, so getting exact details on when and where things happen was kind of tough. But we know that a big part of the FBI's language learning schedule is through intense immersion, i.e. spending a shit ton of time working with that language. And that generally starts in a classroom. Now the classes are either held at the FBI linguistics super secret high-tech Batcave type language training facilities, or they'll be sent to a certified partner school, where they'll teach them all the specific knowledge that they need for the specific project. So just to be aware, the next time you are in an in-person language class, you might be sitting next to a spy. Affirmative, the copycat is dead. Now the interesting thing about these classes is that they'll change depending on the language and the knowledge that is needed. For example, if you're in a counter-terrorism unit and you need to understand the nuances between different dialects of Arabic, they've got a customized program for that. Likewise, if you're sent on a mission to attend a high-stakes underground poker game in Russia, well, you're fucked. So once the agents have done their time in the classroom, depending on the language and their mission, the FBI sometimes pairs them with tutors for one-to-one sessions. And these tutors will generally be native speakers from the region where the agent will operate in. So they can teach them the local slang, the accent, and all the subtle things that you can't really learn on Duolingo. And this really helps them build up to the next stage. So the ultimate goal of a language buster is to learn a language so well that they can be put on a job and start gathering intelligence. And this stuff is of national and maybe even international importance, so you don't want incompetent people on the job. Prokelo matuste. Prokelo mateste. Oh, fuck's sake. So the FBI needs a way to ensure that high standards are kept. And they do this with the FBI's foreign language test, which includes 3 different elements. Number 1, a listening test. Number 2, a reading test. And number 3, a speaking test, where the agents are thrown on the phone with a native speaker. They face real-world scenarios and extremely tight time constraints. It's specifically designed to measure how well you can keep your cool when the stakes are high and the conversations are fast. Because obviously in a high-pressure FBI situation, you can't do this.
Está bien. Yo lo maté, pero ¿por qué primero?
Perdón, ¿puedes hablar un poco más lento, por favor? Now, as we all know, there really is nothing better for language learning than just being in that country, being immersed by the culture and the people. And this is something that the FBI also uses for certain languages. They'll send their agents on language immersion trips, where they eat, sleep, and breathe the language. Think of a study abroad program, but instead of beer pong and dorm parties, you're collecting intel, perfecting your accent, and this is a stage that really allows the agents to become fluent and understand the country's culture and customs.
Tengo hambre, tengo sed.
¿Quieres un burrito?
No, soy argentina, idiota.
Make that 2 quesadillas, please. So, in this video we've talked quite a lot about language immersion, and if you found it interesting, you're definitely going to love this video, where we look at the story of a famous writer who used language immersion himself to learn 17 languages and invent 15 more. So see you in the next one. There's something strange in your neighborhood.